Hi, everybody. It has been a little bit. This is Discussions in Education. I'm Anthony Alberts. I think this is our 13th episode, my lucky number. Um, don't read anything into that. I'm one of probably millions of people whose number that is. But no, it's been a bit. I think the last time I was on here doing a podcast was 2.5 weeks ago with Vern and Jimmy, and we were talking about education, some stuff that we saw. I've been thinking a lot about actually the counseling aspect of what I was mentioning, like counseling for teachers and counseling for students, and how interesting that would make education if we made that regular. And then I definitely want to pursue that in the future with some of my other colleagues and friends and acquaintances out there, because I think what is called social emotional learning. There is a big push now for social emotional learning. I'm sure some people out there are thinking like, "Are you just trying to educate kids to be wusses?" But I think what it really is the realization that just teaching to the test has really drained us and really pulled some teachers, and definitely districts, lots of districts and lots of states away from kind of the core goal of like what the hell we want our kids to do and be, and really focused us on just kind of this product. You're gonna have to forgive me if I sound a little tired. I wanted to, I gotta work on that, but I think what I would like to start off today talking with is just we are what is known in the teaching. We are in what is known in the teaching community as the dreaded March stretch. It is a very, very difficult time for most teachers out there, because at this point, if you are being tested in April or May, you are attempting to cram every last thing in. There hasn't been a day off or time off. You're still grading everything and catching up. So usually there would be, 1 day off or 3 days off or something there to allow you to catch up on the 2 or 3 weeks of grading that you have to do. But there hasn't been anything for a bit. It's also the time of year where teachers start getting their pink slips, their notices of let go, where teachers start making decisions on where they want to be next year. So it's a chaotic time for most school sites. I remember my first 2 years, I got a pink slip each year. The second one was a request for me to resign. I had gotten in a bit of a tiff with the district superintendent. I have this very big issue when you tell parents one thing and then claim something else further down the line. I still stand by that. He did do that. But perhaps my wife will join me today on this discussion. But anyway, this is just a really rough time of year for most teachers, even teachers who are tenured and technically safe in their jobs. This is the time of year where administrators can start telling them that, oh, we're moving you from one school site to another, or we are going to switch your grades, we're going to switch your subjects. So a teacher who has attempted to get their craft to the top end and possibly been teaching their subject for 5, 6, 7 years now can suddenly be told, well, you're no longer going to be teaching. I'm going to use high school examples because my wife and I don't teach in high school, but if you are a high school 12th grade English teacher, it is perfectly reasonable for the principal to suddenly tell you, well, now you're going to be doing ninth grade remedial English and some ELD classes, English language development classes. And if they give you the notice, that's what you'll be teaching. I understand that it might be a little bit harder in high school because generally those decisions are made by the department heads. And so since they have a lot of seniority and they tend to work closely with the principal and the VPs. But at the same time, all teachers are at the whim of principals when it comes to staffing decisions like that. So I've been going through that at my school site. I know my wife has been going through a lot of crazy stuff at her school site. You know, it's just tiring. Had some health issues at home as well, not with myself, but my son's been sick for the past week and a half, 2 weeks, teething to pneumonia and ear infection, which is always delightful. But I think what's kind of put the topping on the cake, my wife had a very, very long, hard day today, and she came home and she was telling me about it, and she's actually sitting in here listening right now, which is fine. She doesn't want to say anything. That's okay. But I guess I can tell her about what happened my day, which is for the past day, I've had a student trying to meet up with me. I don't teach him at all. He's in other classes and keeps coming up. But I know him. I've talked with him before. And he kept saying like, "Hey, Mr. Alberts, do you have time to meet after school? Do you have time to meet during lunch, during break?" And I kept telling him, "Yes, get there. We can talk." And I was always there for a couple minutes, and then he never showed up. So I'd go and have to do all the errands that I have to do, not sure what he wanted to talk to me about. And finally today, after school, while I was at my yard duty, he came by and told me that he was having a really hard time at home. And I'm thinking, sorry, as soon as a teacher starts hearing that, the first thing I think in most of our heads is like, okay, what's the number for Child Protective Services? I have to call and I have to make that report. I have to let them know what's going on. I got to see if there's anything that's actually reportable here. I got to figure out all the little details of what can possibly go on. Do I have the documentation forms that I need? Sorry, now my wife has decided to start cleaning. So it's a little distracting. I don't know what she's doing, but anyway. But he tells me that for the past week and a half or 2 weeks, his parents have started to completely ignore him. I was confused. I was like, what do you mean? Like, are they just like telling you to go away or what? And he's like, no, they haven't talked to him for 2.5 weeks. Okay, 1 sec. All right, sorry about that. No, it was just a very odd situation. Apparently, parents have been paying attention to the younger brother and the older brother and talking to them and buying them, food when they go out and stuff like that. And not that it doesn't seem like they're starving him, but I was trying to get an idea of what was going on, and it's those weird situations that as teachers you're just not sure what the hell to do, because as long as they're taking care of their child, there's nothing actually going on wrong. And how do you prove that they've never talked to this kid? Is it a perception? What is it? So I'm going to talk with him some more tomorrow, but it's stuff like that they do not teach you in any teacher training program. I honestly, I don't even know how to approach the situation. We have school counselors, so I'll probably talk with some of them, but it's every day, especially this week. I mean, I think for the kids, it's just been a long time too. March is always a rough month for them as well, but they just, yeah, I've had a number of kids this week just come in crying into my room, and stuff with friends, stuff at home, stuff at school, stuff not at school, personal stuff, social stuff, so many different issues. And I had a student confide in me that they'd been suffering with, they'd been dealing with depression since 12. And I was like, hey, you're 14 now. That's crazy, but it's kind of a constant in teaching. So I don't know if this is going to be a downer podcast. I'll try to pick it up a little bit, but it's just been kind of a rough one. I'm kind of releasing on that. But I mean, this is the first time my wife has been here. I'm really trying to think of what to ask her about, or what we can talk about. So she's been doing. Can you tell them a little bit about the program you've been doing for the past year?
I'm just back in school to get my admin credential.
Oh, wait, repeat that.
I'm just back in school to get my admin credential.
Okay, and why did you want to get your admin credential?
Because I wanted more power to make more changes.
Okay, and what sparked that?
Seeing lots of different types of leadership skills and leaders that have done well, have not done so well, but knowing that things can be better and then me not having the power to make it better.
Okay. I mean, I've talked about this with my coworkers a couple times too, but I mean, you worked outside of. Oh, good job. Sorry, doing her steps. I'm trying to think of what it is. I mean, outside of education, I think when I wasn't in charge, it didn't strike me as bad when I saw stuff done poorly. But I mean, what do you think?
No, it's more so I went in it for the kids, so that I can make the changes for the kids.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, when I was outside of education, like, yeah, I got in charge eventually, but there wasn't that, like, drive, and I didn't feel like I had to be in charge. It was just like, yeah, that's the next step. But, I mean, definitely, and you and I have both seen leaders who are good and lacking.
I don't like to say that I'm going into this program or doing this because I've seen poor leadership. I just know that things can be better and I want to have the power to make it better.
Okay. That makes sense. Like, so what are some things, like, okay, so let's say, I mean, I know that it'll be a bit before you move into a principal role, because I think that's...
If I choose to go down that path.
If you chose to go there. But let's say you did. What would be something that you would, like, what would be one of the first things you would try to do with a new staff, with a new community, or possibly with the community you're currently in? What would you try to do?
Build trusting relationship with my staff and students.
Okay. Would you include the community in that? Or would you start at the school?
I would also build it with the community, but they wouldn't be my number one priority. They would probably be my number two.
Okay. So can you think of like one thing, maybe it's something that like a previous administrator has done too, but that you feel would help and build that?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like, I know you saying, like, okay, you would start by building trust with your students and with your staff, but, like, how do you go about doing that? I mean, I know it'll be...
Taking time to get to know them.
Okay.
Talking with them. Hanging out with them.
Would you do, like...
Asking them what their interests are.
Would you do morning meetings with, like, the staff? Weekly? Would you do that weekly with the school? I mean, is that what you're saying? Or, I mean, be about during recess and break and going through their classrooms? I understand that part, but would you have, like, assemblies more, or?
Oh, yeah. Assemblies for sure.
Okay.
I think I really enjoyed working at schools where we had weekly assemblies that was led by the principal. And then, I don't know, I don't think I need extra staff meetings. I think like the regular 2 staff meetings a month is good, but then it's also me taking the time to go into classrooms and be present and and leaving positive feedback for teachers' rooms that I visited, and then also taking time to meet with teachers before school, after school, during teachers' prep times, whatever it might be. 5-10 minutes here and there, just so that they know that I care and I listen.
Okay. Do you think where do you think you'd prefer to end up? Like, if you were to become principal, would you prefer elementary, middle, high school?
Elementary.
Okay, just because that's your strength.
No, because I don't want to deal with middle schoolers. I would go elementary or high school.
What would you do? You think high school would be easier than middle schoolers?
Yes.
Oh.
I think their brain is more developed and they're cognitively more aware of the type of people they're going to be in the real world.
Okay.
Middle schoolers are not there yet.
What about the teachers? From what I understand, high school politics, as far as teaching, it's a lot crazier.
Well, I guess we'll find out if I ever get there.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So, before this, we were talking about your second dream career. So how long have you wanted to be a flight attendant?
Since the day I found out that I was tall enough to be a flight attendant for Cathay Pacific Airlines. That was when I was...
Weren't you in the teaching program?
What was it, 23, 24?
That's... Oh, no, I guess at that point, when did you get in the teaching program? You were 25?
I don't remember the exact years. I was an adult when I figured it out.
No, I know. I can't remember if I knew you when you figured that out. Because I feel like as long as I knew you.
No.
Okay. So you would ideally be not ideally. If there was another career you could pursue.
I'm going to be a flight attendant.
You'd be a flight attendant with Cathay Pacific?
Yes. Because I'm not tall enough for any other airline. These fucking Americans don't want you. You should censor that out.
It's okay. It's explicit.
Excuse my cussing. Like, you can't even bleep it out.
No, yeah, there's...
Now I can't run for president.
Oh, yeah. That's... You sure you can. I'm sure they've got recordings somewhere of Barack Obama swearing. I'm pretty sure he almost swore the other day during the State of the Union or one of his speeches.
And he dropped the mic.
Dropped the mic. I did see that.
Why are you talking about my other career?
I'm just curious because you were mentioning that. I'm just curious. So why flight attendant?
Because it's like the coolest job you can ever have. All you have to do is serve food, drinks to people, talk to people, find out where they're going, and then you get to like stay in cool places because you have to be there for the layovers or whatever until your flight comes back.
That's fair. I don't think I think unfortunately the only job that I would ever try to do other than teaching would be politics, and I would probably be laughed out in applying for those. I'm sure there's so much dirt on me online that it would be terrible.
Yeah, but I don't like being in the public eye like that.
I know. Would you be okay if I became a politician?
No.
What?
I would
Come
not
on.
support you.
Well, you don't have to support me. Would you
No,
undermine? Would you actively undermine me?
No, I wouldn't. But then our name would be out there. I don't want our name to be out there.
Why?
Then I would change my last name.
That's
and
fine.
I would get our son to change his name too, so then people won't know that we're related to you. But then it's going to be a shame nobody's going to vote for you because your wife won't stand behind you in your podium speeches or whatever.
I would never expect you. I always thought that was weird when...
That's why people vote for these people who run, because they say, oh, he's a family man, oh, his wife supports him.
Not for school board. If I ever ran for, like, school board...
No, I don't want to support you for school board.
You wouldn't for support... Why not?
Because I don't want to deal with any of that. Look, the politics in education is already bad enough as teachers. I'm really worried about going into admin and dealing with even more political stuff. I don't want to voluntarily choose to then get into this other school board, whatever political crap.
Yeah. Think of all the kickbacks I could get.
There's no kickbacks to it.
Yes, there are.
What came fast?
It's terrible. Well, we were just talking about this. I was talking about this with a coworker today, where we were talking about like there's a level of you get in serious trouble for doing stuff, but at some point, and we think it's actually around the principal range. Around the principal range, you no longer like unless you're like having messed up relations with somebody, like coworker or child or whatever you sicko stuff is out there. But like we were talking about how like embezzling money and spending school funds and stuff like that, how like teachers, I've definitely seen teachers get fired for that, and I've seen principals get let go, but I feel like I've seen teachers like just completely lose everything, whereas I feel like I've seen principals just reorganize to other schools. And then didn't Liza's like former superintendent or just deputy superintendent like steal from her district and just is now a superintendent somewhere else?
I don't know. Oh. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with my staff or site or whatever.
I don't think anybody's stealing from you guys.
That you know of.
That's true. I mean, you never find out.
I've turned in numerous monies or numerous amount of monies or whatever, chunks of money for field trips. I just turned in an envelope with $30 today. I don't know who it's going to go to. That's the thing. At another site where I worked before, you knew exactly where your money went because the secretary printed out your budgets or the depositing, whatever,
deposit slips, yeah.
The checkbooks.
Yeah.
When she would bring it to the bank, I knew what bank we were at. I knew how much money we had. It said who deposited how much, why it was deposited, where the money went, if you were reimbursed for something. Here, I haven't seen anything.
I think that's sketchy. Because I'm pretty sure...
That's sketchy. Some people are stealing money.
I'm sure they are. Yeah. God damn. No, I mean, that's...
But it's the same thing, right? I could have taken the $30. Nobody would have known that I had the $30. I mean, it's just $30, not a big deal. But if I embezzle it, right? But no, I'm a good person. I know right from wrong most majority of the time. Or at least I think I do.
Yeah. No, it's...
How do we get off topic? I want to talk about being a flight attendant.
I thought you said you didn't want to talk about that. You said, how did we get onto that one?
We should play it back and see what we said.
Yeah, I remember what you said. I have to play it back. There's no playback on this. Come on, this is just my phone. So, all right. So flight attendant. So then you would head out, have awesome adventures.
I can't do it now.
Because you have a kid?
Yeah.
You can still do it.
Sucks. No, I can't. Then I never see him. Then I would become one of those parents that we complain about all the time when we're like, oh, so-and-so is doing poorly in school, behaviors, blah, blah, blah. Oh, is there support at home? No. Is there follow-through at home? No. Why? Oh, because the mom's in China on another business trip flying around the world serving peanuts to people.
I like how you classify that as a business trip. I guess that is a business trip. I just never thought of it that way. I'm like, it would just be for work. Oh, where's your mom? Oh, she's in China. Oh, when does she get back? She won't be back for 3 weeks. She has to go to Singapore and then Australia. Then the Philippines.
Oh, but think about the postcards you guys would get.
Screw that. I'm thinking about the cheap trips.
Yeah, see? And the standby flights.
Yeah, right?
Oh, thank goodness.
I mean, I imagine Braylon would... I mean, he'd be well-traveled.
Why do you say his name on this public podcast?
So no one will be able to find him?
It's going to be really long.
No. We'll stop it soon. I'm really tired. No. No, I was just curious about it.
People can just hear everything.
Yeah.
Give him a thumbs up if you like hearing these things. Give him a thumbs down if you think he should edit.
I'm not going to edit ever. I'm way too lazy for that. Plus... I mean, I like Spreaker Studio, but I haven't quite figured that aspect of it out. But, no. I mean, I guess you'll make it out. Right now, I don't know, what is it? This is your, what year teaching? 7 year teaching.
6 on payroll.
6 on payroll. Yeah, there's a year of long-term subbing. That was very, very stressful because her district had jerked her around at that point, which that district is still jerking people around. Just some basic facts for people out there who might not know about it. Teachers are hired on to districts as either temporary or probationary. If you're hired on probationary, that means you have 2 years before the district decides whether they're going to hire you permanently or let you go. It's called being non-reelect. If you're temporary, that means you're not on the tenure track, so you're not going to be hired permanently at any point. And they can hire you. Some districts have a limit. Some districts say, like, okay, well, we can only hire you like 5 years as temporary and 7 years. But I believe...
I don't think it's that high.
No, that's what I was just going to say. Evergreen, screw it, I'm going to say it. Evergreen District, someone was telling me the other day that they had somebody who was just now moved to probationary after having been a temporary teacher for 7 or 8 years. So that's about right when they were doing the big layoffs. Anyway, so yeah, it's super exciting.
Good for that teacher for being so persistent.
Oh my god!
I got the hell out of there.
Yeah, that's. I couldn't do that. You need some stability, especially in teaching. But yeah, so that's so people who they're like, oh, they point down at the tenure track, and the tenure track definitely has its negative aspects. There are definitely people who should move on from education but have a safe, secure job, and so they just stay in it. But being an at-will employee as a teacher, I think both of us went into our classrooms this year with, oh god, how many boxes? Just junk. Not junk, but stuff, books. I know you had like 10. Oh, yeah, because you had a lot in storage too. So, yeah. Teachers leaving a job is like moving from, a studio apartment that you've lived in for 2 years. We bring as many supplies as we can into it, bookcases and all sorts of stuff, and it's just, it's hard. And then it's hard to build community when you're temporary. It's hard to want to build community when you could be let go at the end of the year and have to find another community. And kids know that. Kids feel that, and kids also realize when there's revolving door teachers, and it's harder to keep them accountable. And they also have no one to go to. Like, if Lily or I build a really strong relationship with a kid, and then next year we're, at the end of this year we're out, and then they want to go back and they want to know us, or, not know us, but like go to us for help or go to us for advice. Now there's email, but it's not the same.
It's not the same like when we were younger. I remember growing up, we always had the same principal, and with just a few exception of like maybe 1 or 2 teachers who like left. I don't know if they were fired or whatever, but it was the same. Like, staff was pretty consistent.
No, I agree.
So K to 4th grade, I can remember all the teachers I had, and I can also tell you which teacher stayed. Had the same principal, and then now it's like we're going 4 years, 4 principals.
Yeah. So that also, all of that, like I said, really comes to the head again every March, because, like I said, that's when we start seeing the slips go out to our fellow teachers, or we start getting slips. So, it's just a hard time.
But then do you think it's because of teacher training programs have changed in the last 20, 30 years? Like, what was different 30 years ago than what it is now from what we went through? Or has mentality changed in teachers? Because when I started teaching, I never thought I wanted to go the admin route. And then here I am, like, 6-7 years into it. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe it's time to leave and go the admin route, because I was getting tired of not having power to make changes. And then you have all these new admins who, like, if I went into an admin role next year, I will not have had many experiences with Common Core curriculum. Then who am I to be telling new teachers, like, oh, like, this is how you should teach, here's your adopted curriculum, when I haven't even used it to teach kids? And then it goes into, well, where's the PD for the principals for that? Who's supporting that? Like, are the principals actually going to get a chance to see the curriculum? I don't know. Like, where did the shift happen where all of a sudden all these teachers don't want to be a teacher forever? They want to go be a coach. They want to be whatever, principals, VPs, move up to the district office.
And just to clarify, when we're talking about coach, we don't mean, I mean, maybe we mean like a personal training coach and stuff like that, but teachers and districts do hire other teachers to teach teachers. So you might mentor new teachers through one of the teacher certification programs. It's called an induction program, because when you first become a teacher, you have to clear your credential. So you get a credential, but it's temporary. And once you clear it after your first 2 years, then you are a fully licensed teacher. Clearing it, though, is not the same as being employed by a district. So you can be a fully licensed teacher then without a job who is non-reelected. So it's an exhausting system. This one started in the end, like 99, 98. I've talked before about Common Core standards. They came in about 5 years ago. The original state standards for California came in the early 90s, the late 80s is when they were being formed, and then input. So, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. One of the other teachers at my school was saying that, at least in the San Jose area, a big problem was Microsoft coming in and like Hewlett-Packard coming in. Not as a big problem, but when they came in, they had to build a bunch of new schools for all the families that came in. And so they hired everybody at that time. And then it's only in the past five, like, essentially we're now in the stretch of people retiring. So there's this large wave of people retiring who were hired in that time frame. He said it was really hard to get a job here in the 2000s because they were all, 10 years younger and nowhere near the end of their career. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. But
well, it's gonna be the same thing with teacher shortage. So I mean, what, like 8 years ago, we went through our depression. They cut a lot of teachers, and with that, a lot of teachers left the profession. And now we're in 2016, and there's a shortage for teachers, shortages for subs.
I was trying to tell my district that they should start hiring like full-time subs. I guess it's something they do in New York and on the East Coast, is actually like hire full-time subs who just are at a school site, like, and they're kind of like roaming, so they work as support teachers when they're not needed, but when there's a sub needed, they're the first ones who go in the room and take over.
They're working every day?
Yeah, they work every day. So they're full-time. So they're essentially like just two floating teachers, and then who aren't paid as much because they're not specifically, I don't, maybe they're not paid as much. They might be, who knows. But
aren't those people called your intervention teachers?
We don't have intervention teachers, so I don't know what you're talking about. But maybe, I mean, I guess maybe that's for elementary, but.
Can you mute it so that my voice is different? I'm not muted, but can you do a voice change?
It can't hear you. It's not picking up your voice at all when you talk that low. All right. Well, it is now 10:30 at night. I just wanted to do a short one, kind of vent a little, and
short one. That was 30 minutes.
That was 40 minutes. I started at 9:50.
That's really long.
Oh, that's 34 minutes. Okay. No, that's not long. I do like hour ones with everybody else. But thank you very much for being on. I really appreciate it. Everybody else out there, I have another episode coming up. I have to do this next week. My friend Charlie Hayes, he's going by Charlie now. I keep got to remember that. He sent me a video kind of prompting question. So it might be another monologue episode, but at the same time, it's based on a video he sent me. So I do want to respond to that, and I haven't forgotten it, but I need to work out the audio part. So thank you again for listening.
Leave him a comment. I want to see how many people actually listen to this podcast, or a thumbs up.
Yeah. Anyway.
Down. Or thumbs sideways. Or smiley face. I don't know what your thing does.
I have no idea what it does either. Yeah, the one person at CJ, leave a message or something, man.
If he gets this far into the podcast, this is pretty long.
Yeah, this one was. I mean, we're just out of it.
Okay,
like I said,
and
welcome to
then
March.
Also leave a comment how many times Tony said
Oh, I said it a lot today. I'll work on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You can tell us how many times he says I'll mail you something from America.
That's assuming it's CJ. If you're here, you'll get something from America, but you're already in America.
No,
okay.
Only if it's CJ. This is only for CJ.
All right.
Well, it has to be the CJ that we know, not just a random person listening.
What if it's the CJ in Australia? You want to just send a random CJ in Australia something if they leave a count?
If they want to give me their address, but then that's just creepy at that point. How do they know I'm not a stalker?
That's true. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. This has been Discussions Education.
What's your signature goodbye?
Goodbye.
Over and out. Oh, you don't have a... You don't have
What
like
do you
a
want
little
me to
message?
Okay. What should I say?
Your highlight of the day?
What the hell is a highlight of the day?
What was your highlight of today?
The highlight of today was let's see, like
Are you going to make an educational highlight of the day, or are you going to just make it a life highlight of the day?
I don't know.
I'm just trying to give you some good pointers on making your podcast more interesting.
Oh, okay. Well, usually I'm not as tired when I record them, but I am still fairly boring either way. All right. I guess I will be working on a sign-off for next time. Anyway, now we're getting to 40 minutes, and I'm just literally filling it with nothing. So thanks for listening, everybody.
Okay. Thumbs up if you like it.
All right. Bye, everybody.